another episode of Coffee and a Good Vibe. Guys, join with me today. I have one of your favorites. She's back for round 2 on the podcast, but if you listen to the first episode, it's going to be nothing like today's episode. I'm here with the one, the only, Sami Clarke.
Hello.
Thank you for being here in person with us today.
So much better. I love the in-person podcast, so thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Not only like the quality is always better, but the vibes. The vibes are better.
The vibes are so much better.
The vibes are what we're all about.
Good. I feel like sometimes over Zoom it can feel a little like businessy, and then in person,
it's like, yeah,
you know,
totally.
It's like way more personal.
I know. Zoom interviews are good too, but like,
yeah,
this is better. Yeah. So Sami, last time you were on the pod, it was episode 4 with JT, and we're going to talk about JT on this podcast too later. But we talked about reset. People here listening who follow you now probably don't even know what reset is. So much has changed, and I'm like super excited and grateful for your time, because I think witnessing it from the sidelines and following you from way back even before I met you, it's so inspiring to see someone live their purpose. And I think everyone in life is always trying to find their purpose. And when you have it, when you find it, it's crazy, like the abundance and what the universe brings you. And I want to dive into all of it because you're living your purpose.
Favorite subject. Let's go.
So I guess for a little bit of context, could you give, and guys, I'm going to link that episode below of the first one you guys did, because it's just a good listen, but just maybe giving everyone a little bit of background on where, like, this passion for fitness, we're going to get into form, but like, where did it all stem from? What were you doing before? And I also want to hit on the pandemic, like, because I feel like that was such a growth moment too in your career.
Yeah. So if you guys listen to the first podcast, I was on it with now my fiance, JT, which was my boyfriend at the time. Very cool. But we were talking a lot about Reset, and Reset was a wellness event that we created, and it was pretty much like a spa day of like all your favorite things for influencers. And then we were going to sell tickets, and we were just so excited about it. And at this time I was dabbling in the influencer world as well, of my passion for fitness, which I can kind of go into of like how I found that. But with Reset, which was so crazy, is right before the pandemic hit for Coachella, we were supposed to throw our biggest reset yet. So it was the biggest event for Coachella. We were literally going to do it in Palm Springs. We visited all of the campgrounds. Like, we were so excited. We had all the brands set up, all the influencers set up. And then obviously the pandemic hit. And in that moment, it was, really tough and gut wrenching. And we had no idea what we were going to do, because being an event company, you're like, that is our life. And pandemic completely took that away. But what the cool thing about life, and I think, anyone can say from the pandemic, there was a lot of things we learned from it. And for JT and I, we learned our passion for our personal careers. And right when the pandemic hit, I was, like I said, I was going into the influencer world, but I really went into it when the pandemic hit, and people needed an out. They needed a place to go to. So I started doing live workouts 5 times a week on Instagram. So free, anyone could go on, which at this time I was posting on YouTube and Instagram already, tons and tons of free content. Like, I was just really wanting to get it out there of like why I love working out, my passion for it, the types of workouts I fell in love with, my eating habits, like every health and wellness trick that I learned to get me where I am today. So I really was just sharing so much content. At this time, we also moved back in with my parents, and I was live every single day. And we were also interviewing my friend and I, Sana, who I know you know and love. We were interviewing other people in the space as well, in wellness space, to like really focus on mental health. So from there was like when I was like, okay, I'm going to take this so serious. And I saw my growth just like, it was kind of crazy in the pandemic. I was like, I feel so bad for Reset dying, because JT and I could feel it. We were like, it was dying, but we were blossoming. Yeah. And so it was like this support that we were feeling of like, I know that this is really hard, that you're losing your business that you've put money into and you haven't received anything in return. And you guys thought this was it, but I have a different journey for you. So just run. And we ran so fast towards it, like put our heart and soul. And then obviously now I've built the business I have, which is Form. And yeah.
I love that. And truly, right? Like when you're in something, every adversity serves. And sometimes you don't realize till after, like, wow, that was the biggest blessing of life. And I know everyone has different experiences of what they go through, but just like trust whatever you're going through. Like there's blessings on the other side. And truly, like both of you guys are like, we'll talk about, JT will come on the podcast and talk about how he's living his purpose, but he is living it.
He's living
and
it.
doing such a good job. And it's just incredible to see that. And with Form, so everyone who's been following along, the pandemic, we're going to dive into community and stuff later in the episode because you were a beast at that. Like when people talk about building brand, like you need to nurture a community, provide value, like give people a reason to come follow you. And you did that. And that's what birthed Form. But what was the vision for Form? Like when you were journaling and manifesting this business and creating it, like what were you looking? Obviously you've done it. So like, but before it was built, like, during the pandemic when you're like, hey, this is something here. Like how did Form, like even the name come about?
Yeah. So it's really cool because when I was in the pandemic, I also right before that left, I believe it was right before that, might have been during it, I can't remember. I left FitPlan, which was an app I was on. Yes.
It's still there.
Yeah. I'm still standing in it. I am still standing in it, but there is no newness to it. They own the rights to my...
Oh, your workouts are still... Okay.
Yeah, everything's still on there, but that is like a very green version of me and what like my passion was for working out, which I'm so grateful for FitPlan and that family. They really like helped
Cam's
me be
amazing. Fellow
best.
Canadian. Shout out to Cam.
Love Cam, love Landon. They're all so great. But when I left that, I definitely knew I wanted to create something a little more intimate, a little more special. And like you said, I knew my community better than anyone because I was conversing with them nonstop. I was in the DMs nonstop. I mean, from YouTube, who was a different audience, to Instagram, which was a different audience. I was really getting a full range. So I really got to see what people needed, why they weren't reaching their goals. And so from there, I was super, super passionate about this one-stop shop of my technique, my tools, my habits, and like really setting people up for success. Because I think I've done all different types of workouts and you have to really work out or figure out what works for you. But for me, it was for someone being insanely busy, seeing my mom who's insanely busy and seeing that like 30 minutes felt like the sweet spot. And I was like, I perfected a 30-minute workout. Like, get in here with me. You're going to get a sweat. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel lean, toned, all these things. I knew I wanted to then put it onto this platform where people could actually go to find their community that was really serious about it as well. And then from there, we've done like meal plans.
Yeah, it's evolved and it's continuing to evolve. We'll get into like how it's growing, but that's incredible. It's like everything. And I love that you said that, like, your clients and your audience, your community more than anyone. So then creating from there, obviously like you know what they need. And then you decided to create exactly the resources, the tips, the tools to serve.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I want to go into something. We'll get into more of the nitty-gritty of that, but I really want to go into this topic on self-awareness because I know people listening, they may not know their purpose or their path, or they're working a corporate job that they know it's not there forever, or they're not passionate, and that's okay, first of all. And everyone finds their calling too at different times. And I think it's such a blessing that you grasp that and you know it and you're in your lane. And I know it's hard work, but sometimes when you're doing your purpose, it doesn't feel always like work, or you wanna work on the weekends. You wanna put more in. And I think in this world that we live in, there's so much external noise and chaos that it can even become harder to like tune out the clutter of everyone else and like what their goals and visions are, but tune into your own. And I think it's so much self-awareness. And I kind of want to ask you like two sides on like how you develop such like deep self-awareness for your calling, your business. And then also, actually I can ask the second one after. I won't say both because it's too loaded.
So I feel like with my business was a lot of self-confidence, self-awareness, and also like listening to my intuition. Because I will say this, when I wanted to start Form, I had no's, and I feel like I really want to like make this clear. Like I had people scaring me away from starting my own app, like telling me it's way too expensive. It's way too hard to do.
Or like stick to fit plan.
Stick to people that are just going to do it for you. And I do think that is right for a lot of people because owning your own business is not for everyone. That's why you have to kind of like gut check your place. But I think the self-awareness for me was, like you said, I was so passionate about this subject and so passionate about my community that I knew in my gut, and I meditated on it, and I really I could see the vision. And when I stopped myself from having any limiting beliefs and like expanded and was like, no, you can do this, it was like a running streak from there, and I couldn't stop. I also think it's who I have around me. It was a self-awareness of what I'm best at and who I need to actually include in my life to make this work. I wasn't ever like, I'm gonna one-man show it. I know for me, I'm a creator. I do have a lot of like passion for business, but I also am not a master at it. I think I leaned on my dad, who is an entrepreneur himself, for a really long time to get me where I was. But I was ready for someone to come in and like really help me side by side that saw the vision of Form. And like for me to be so focused on the creative aspect and the passion and the mission with Form, and let someone handle all of the like messy stuff that I don't like to deal with. So that was a huge self-awareness for me. I remember like writing a list of like all the things that I can do in my sleep or that bring me joy. And I wrote that on one side, and all the things that I just are tedious for me, don't feel good.
Yeah.
And I was like, if there is a way that I can have someone believe and Form the way I do, and they can help me with this side of the list, because that's their passions, that was like a huge self-awareness for me.
Even that in itself is such an amazing like representation of self-awareness, and also ego, like detaching your ego from it, because like listening to that and you said it, you're like, I'm a creator, I need to stay in my lane. And that's how you can actually flourish a business. Because I'm victim to this too. If you're listening and you're like, damn, I'm on the other side, because I will be like, I can do it all. Like, oh, I can set up my own podcast, I can do all the editing, and I catch myself in that. But it's like, when you think about the greater vision of what you're creating, you're like, okay, yes, you can, but your time is better somewhere else, because then it can grow so much more.
So much
So
more.
I love that you said that, and you did that from the beginning. So even on a daily standpoint, you know, once you're in your lane of, you know, you have Form, you have different things that you're doing within Form, and everything is growing. I feel like it's, you know, you find the business and things as you get busy as an entrepreneur and you keep growing, like life just gets busier. Sometimes we think, oh, once I hit it there, then I'll get a rest period, or like, no, because more opportunity, and it's a good thing, more opportunity, more expansion keeps coming in. So on a daily level, how do you continue to like stay self-aware and in check? Because one thing that I've noticed about you that you're super good at is honoring when you need to fill your cup, honoring when, hey, you know what, like this week I was heavy extroverting energy, so I need to take a morning to introvert a bit. How do you do that? How do you monitor that?
Honestly, myself doesn't even allow me to not do that. Like I wish I could say like myself would be like, push through. Like my body is like, we can't go on today, so you need to contact your people. I have an incredible team that I do lean on, and I have to like have those pauses, but my body will like, it just won't let me not do it. So I think I have that self-awareness on a daily basis. And again, I set the tone where I know that me showing up as my best, if I'm not my best, that's not even good for everyone else involved. So it's almost like better for me to be honest about how I'm doing, especially on social media. I'm pretty much on social media every single day, showing my life. And there are days where I really don't want to be on it. And that's super hard for me. But I also know it's not even great if I tried to push it for my like amazing family on there, because they're going to feel that energy too.
Oh, I love that you said that. How would you say someone is like not self or trying to become more self-aware? What would you like prompt them almost to like start building that relationship with their self?
I think for me, when I think about it, like really hit was starting a journal routine, because I started asking myself questions, which I don't think I did before. I think I let it live in my brain.
Yeah.
And writing it down and actually having the same prompts every day, but having to find different answers and maybe dive a little deeper, was huge for my beginning of my journey of like self-awareness and really understanding me, and also finding my intuition. I used to tell people I can't hear it. Like I'd panic. I'd be like, I can't tell what it's trying to tell me. And I think I was just so in my head. And the moment that I started to like pause and do a journal routine and truly ask myself, like I'll sit and I'll ask myself like, okay, what do you need today? Or is this feeling aligned with you and your vision? And it's not like I get like this whisper in my ear all of a sudden, but you get this like body experience of like instantly you want to say yes, instantly you want to say no. It's like, what is your gut telling you when you take that pause? Because your self will always support you when you take that moment to like actually hear it.
I love that. I talk about this before, and intuition's like a muscle. And like when you lean in and strengthen it, whether that be through meditation and journaling practice, it gets louder. And like, yeah, and louder
loud.
in different ways. Like it could be a whisper. For me, it's a whisper. For you, it's like in the body. And it's so cool because you get better. Like if you're listening and you're like, damn, I wish I could wake up and just know like Sam, like what I need. And I'm telling you, like you can. Like if you start like tuning inward and you know what? Let's just talk about it now. Like you have the journals, you have the form journals, and I'm sure that's why you created it, because you know that people are looking to deepen this relationship with self. Can you go into maybe like about the journals and like maybe about the like breakdown of it, because it's so much about like what those prompts are that create that journal experience.
Yeah, I think too, if anyone has never done journaling before, journaling for me is not like Dear Diary.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in the 4th grade, it definitely was Dear Diary. But when someone told me to start trying to do a journal routine, it was talking about gratitude. It was talking about like saying kind words to myself, which also felt so weird.
Yeah.
So that's where I've curated this journal routine that Form now offers. Again, this is a one-stop shop. So it's all the tools that I literally am obsessed with and made me who I am. I'm now putting into Form. So creating this journal, there's 7 prompts, which again, it's supposed to be super easy, super like right when you wake up, set you up for success, get you in a positive mindset, have you reflect. So there's like talking about gratitude. There's those daily affirmations, that self-love and self-talk we share with ourselves. There's also one that I love so much, and it's sending love to someone. And it can be
energy's everything. We talk about that on the podcast.
It is everything. So when I send a voice memo, when I write JT a note, when I just like, send my friend a picture, like whatever it is, that little send love to makes so much different for both sides.
Yeah.
And also keeps the relationship going. Like I think that was something I needed too, for how busy I am. I love putting that one in there to be like, oh, I haven't talked to my friend Erin in so long. Let me send her a little message. But there's ones also to make sure you're holding yourself accountable for your goals. So it's nutrition goals, workout goals, so you're really on top of it on a daily basis. And it's a habit that it's going to become second nature, but it's going to change your day dramatically.
It's so crazy too. Like those first, like how you wake up is everything. And I love that note so much on the energy of like sending love, because you're sending love without an expectation back, but it's crazy how it shifts. Like one of my mentors, Gabrielle Bernstein, and I do this all the time, but she always talks about, I pray, like especially after like last year I developed such a strong like prayer practice. And whenever I have like a big day, Gabrielle Bernstein talks about when she has a big talk, she'll pray for everyone in the room and bless the room. And even when when you go into, and now I pray before everything, like before this podcast, pray for you, pray for your team, like coming in. And I feel like it sets the tone energetically. And regardless, like if they believe in it or not, like it's an energy. And same thing with like, same premise with the sending energy.
That's so true. I honestly talked about this, I think it was the other day. I was telling my mom, I was like, when you are strong and when you are sending love or loving yourself, you're also being strong and loving to the people around you. Like it's such an energy effect. When you are making those choices, you're also affecting everyone around you. And then when you put it out there by praying or by even like, I love to envision, sending light and love to people,
powerful.
It's so powerful. And I even think like sometimes when you get like little chills or whatever, that it was that energy, like just meeting you there,
so much.
I love Gabby Bernstein too, though. She's is like truly
idol.
Magic. Yeah.
I love her so much. No, I love that. So I was going to say something and it escaped me, but energy, send out the love. It really has an effect.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of go into my favorite topic, manifestation, because I truly believe that, our thoughts create our reality. And okay, a long time ago, like around when we did the podcast, it was maybe 2.5 years ago, we were at Cafe Gratitude and I said something, I don't know if you'll remember, but I'm going to just tell you and then it's going to form a no question. But we were talking about like your life and like what you envision for your brand. And I asked you like what you see for your brand, and you said it in like a really nice way. Like I see myself speaking. I see myself having a platform of like this large of a community. Like, and I'm talking about that because you said it, and because you like said that, you believed in it and you knew it was coming in your reality. And sometimes we have these goals and we're impatient, but you have that confidence and that poise of like, you knew it was coming and now you're living it. So where did this stem from, that belief system? Because a lot of people, I want everyone to cultivate a belief system like that because you can do anything.
Oh, I mean, it's so true. I'm really working on right now. I even see myself, which someone would be like, no way, with how I guess I'm living right now. I have like crazy limiting beliefs. Like I'll be like, that's too expensive. I can't have that house. I can't have that thing. And I have let that leave me. And it is so fulfilling to just dream, because I think when you go to that vision board, when you go to those goals, we really sell ourselves short. And we're like, no, you can't have that. That's too much, or that's too expensive, or that's too big. And I'm trying to go bigger. I'm like, let's keep going bigger and bigger. I remember someone asked me, how many people do you want to touch? And I was like, millions. And I said that with that intuition gut feeling because I first off knew I was going to work my butt off, but I also just can feel it and see it. So anytime you like sit down, create that vision board, create that vibe, which I think everyone needs to do, right? Get it on paper, get it out of your mind, start to feel it, believe it, visualize it. Once you do, you're going to start to see like, okay, wow, this is really, really happening. And I feel like from there, I've just continued to do that.
I always say too, your mind has to get there before your reality, and like you physically do. And if you can't get there in your head, like your beliefs don't align to that, it's all the power of manifestation. Like if you're vibrationally not aligned to the future you're calling in, then you enter like just the law of attraction. It does not align. So it's like you have to actually, as hard as it could be, like get yourself there to be like, that house can be my reality.
Yeah. And I also think too, when you believe that the world is for you and that everyone can have everything, like the world is actually working for you, you can dream bigger, you can manifest bigger. And also doing it all through love. Like when you pick these dreams, when you pick these goals and you dream so big, knowing that you're doing it from a place of love, I feel like it's just game over.
I love that you said that note, because Gabby also talks a lot, Gabrielle Bernstein, like it's such a principle of it. Like the intention behind it is so pure. Like, cause if you're doing something like you want the big house to just whatever, like the universe is not going to bring you that abundance. Like it's because you like the financial abundance, like that home is going to bring you to like have the resources and the space to even create more for the world.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for anyone on like building that confidence and that inner belief system? Like any things to strengthen that?
I think it is the self-work and it's little tools or little things you do on a daily basis. These little habits go such a long way. When I think about myself, even 4 years ago, and I didn't have a morning routine, I didn't have healthier habits. I had a workout routine. I was eating right, but actually using tools like journaling, like drinking water. It's like almost like you're having this, like you're in a relationship with someone else, but you're in it with yourself. And you just feel that support. You feel that like you are listening to yourself is how I really started to connect to me, understand me, build confidence, start to build trust with myself because I started to keep those habits, keep those promises on a daily basis. So I think, understanding what you need, what yourself needs. And I feel like yourself will always be like, it's almost like, thanks. Yeah. Thanks for looking out for me. Here's a little message from me. Like it really is something so like that. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. And on that, like, even with like, you know, when something is quote unquote, like too extensive or like those thoughts come in, do you just like gently, cause I know you probably have a really great answer, like gently mute it. Cause I feel like some people would be like, self-sabotaging themselves for even having the thought. But it's okay to have those thoughts because as long as the self-awareness that you recognize that thought is so powerful too.
Yeah, I think taking that pause, for me, I have to take big pauses. Like I think there's some people that I took my human design, and if anyone hasn't done that, I highly recommend.
Everyone recommends that.
Oh my gosh, have you done it?
No, I have to do it.
You have to do it, Aisha. It's so good. But for JT, how he gets like his gut feeling, it's like a punch in the stomach. So his is really loud, really intense. For me, it's so gentle. So for me, taking those pauses are very, very important. Or meditating on my decisions is really, really important. And that's okay to ask to do so as well. But I think when I have those thoughts, I can pause and ask myself, like, is my younger self, is myself trying to protect me because it's scared of me buying that big house because yada, 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 whatever it has in its head that's going to happen. So it's almost like a child, like you're pausing, being like, thank you for trying to protect me when I needed to be protected by those thoughts or by those beliefs or whatever it was. I'm not mad at you for saying you can't have that or you can't do that. I just want you to know it's okay that I have that and I do that because I'm going to do so much good with it.
That's so beautiful. And we're like, that's a whole topic in itself too, with like our inner child. That's like a lot of the work I'm like recently studying and diving into. It's like everything stems from your inner childhood. And it's so crazy, like how much gets shaped from back then. And that forms these little beliefs that can come up, but there's always ways to like strengthen that. But I love that. And we're going to shift gears a little bit. I know it's back into something that I know everyone will want to hear, but it's a shifting gears and it's on brand building and the business of form, because we talked about this in the beginning, but community is number one. And you're the queen of community. I think that should be
Thank you.
The queen of community.
I love that.
You've demonstrated it so well. And when you do have a community, it makes it that much easier as a business owner to know how to serve your community. And just for people listening, because I know there's people, founders of all different types of companies, and maybe people, new listeners who are starting a brand and they have no idea who their ideal avatar, client avatar is, or who that community is. Do you have any tips for the beginning of like discovering who their ideal client, ideal community is, so they can then serve them with content and products?
For sure. I think it's first off getting super clear on what you can talk about and promote all day. Like whatever product you're creating, whatever thing you're creating, like make sure you are so obsessed with it, because even if it's a lifestyle, like make sure you just are so obsessed with sharing or whatever it is. And once you decide from there, I think it's like mapping out, who this avatar is. So for me, my girl's named Katie. I love to talk about Katie. She, when I first started, was my age. She was going into college. She didn't really know how to eat right. She didn't really know how to work out, wasn't really loving it. It was really hard on herself with that self-talk. So I started to envision Katie, and every time I created a piece of content, every time I thought about form, I thought about Katie, and Katie has evolved with me into form. And now I think about more like hundreds and hundreds of Katies. I'm not like just still focused on that Katie, but I think it is like writing down what the issue Katie is having and how you can be the solution to it.
That's so powerful. And like, I love that you said like they can evolve, because Katie's evolved. Katie's launched a journal. Katie's evolved. Like, and she's continuing to evolve. And then do you also feel like with social, it's like you can talk to them too once you build that genuine community. Do you have any tips for like content creation and how you approach building a brand? Because another note I'll just say is like your content is also aesthetically very pleasing, and it's on brand because it's all the same tones, and there's definitely an art, like educationally value context, it's there. And like there's also an art with the aesthetics.
Yeah, so this was huge because obviously I have Sami Clarke, which is its own brand. And then when I created Form, it is a stem of Sami Clarke, but it is its own brand. And so I knew that I wanted to keep Sami Clarke, which is kind of messy. It isn't as aesthetically pleasing. It is raw. It is grainy. It is, funny, but then it is like really deep. It's like so much of my personal Sami.
Yeah.
But Form, I wanted it to be a little bit more structured for the people to like go to that one-stop shop. So I didn't actually merge them both. I created a separate brand. And for that, I think we have like, again, an awesome team where they understand also our community. We are so in with our community. It's kind of crazy. Like we have a community texting group. We have a Facebook group because we have a huge international like platform. So we're asking them questions all the time. We are getting the way that we are succeeding is, I feel like, a lot because of them, because they're guiding us of what they want to see more of, what like positive feedback they need more of. So that's like super huge. But I think with Form, just making sure it is clean and refreshing, but also provides so much value. We don't ever post a photo of water and there's like a one-word caption, which I think works for some people, but for us, it's like, no, we are giving facts. We are giving value. We are answering questions. Every Monday, we have a Monday mindset to like drive people in their week to like think positive, have these quotes, have these inspirational thoughts. So I think we're always just making sure it's driving value.
I love that. And it's so aesthetic. Like any new person listening who hasn't seen Form, they're going to check it out. And it's so like, it's such brand aesthetic goals, like, and value goals, but like aesthetically, it's so my vibe.
Which JT, if anyone knows him, he's like, throw the aesthetic out the door. Like he's so TikTok, where it's like zero aesthetic needed.
Like more content, more frequency.
More content. Yeah. Sami, be so raw, be so gross, whatever. But Form, at least on Instagram, I think the aesthetic is also drawing to the girl that appreciates the aesthetic and appreciates this kind of like cool, clean. Neutrals. Yeah.
I love it.
Because I feel like a lot of fitness platforms in the past are more bright and pink, and which I love too, but I think we wanted to bring like a different vibe.
Yeah, it's more bougie.
Okay, I'll take it.
I love it. No, I think that on that note too, I had a question when you were speaking, because you talked about team, and I want to ask this question because it's you had so much foresight with the business, like how you were going to scale it. And I love, like from the beginning, I love that you said that. I hired on the experts. Did you have a mentor at this time or throughout this journey? I know you mentioned your dad. Was it just your dad? Like, what did you do to know? Because I know what to do business-wise. Because I know there's creators listening who want to scale their business, but sometimes they don't know where to turn. And I think there's so many amazing resources. So anything that you've done that served for the business growth?
Yeah, this one is so important because I think there's a lot of noise that a lot of people think they know, which probably worked for them, but maybe it's not working for your business. So I think it's asking a lot of questions to people you look up to and you think are similar, or you aspire to be like, or you've loved the way that they've been a founder, you listen to them on a podcast. This is like outside resources that you don't have right next to you. I learned the power of asking questions. People actually like to answer questions. They like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about
having this podcast. And like everyone wants to come on and talk about.
They want to talk about how they succeeded because it's real, because they put so much passion into it. So they actually want to help. So I started calling people left and right and just asking questions, and also gut checking if that was right for me. After I talked to them, I'd be like, was that relative? Like, does that make sense for what I'm building? Should I take that advice? My dad was my biggest like gut check because he has zero intentions besides to love me.
Yeah.
So that was like, I really feel so blessed that I had someone who did work really hard and built something from nothing, that he really guided me. And then JT also, as my partner, was like a huge checking point to be like, does this feel right if I couldn't check in, if it felt like that mentor, that person was right for me. But truly, a lot of my mentors are people that don't know me.
I love that. Powerful. Guys, re-listen to that because that's some good advice. And I like how, another note, like I like how it's not forced. You know, sometimes you get advice, like business advice like this on what to do, and it's like too much that you're like, I'm not going to do anything. But that is just start with asking more questions. It's such a good place to start because it'll just guide from there. We're shifting gears again. There's so many different things that I want everyone listening to get the full spectrum of Sami Clarke and Form. So I want to talk about your workout method because you know this thing in the wellness space. It's, you know, there's so many different methods out there, and like what works for one person may not work for another person. And I think that's so beautiful to find what works. And one thing with Form like that we've noticed is like it's working for everyone. It works so well. So I would love to, for anyone listening who doesn't know Form, could you describe the workout method? Like if someone's like, I've never, like, what's the 30, she mentioned 30 minutes. Like, well, what is it?
Yeah. So Form is, I would consider it more like a high intensity strength workout. So it's mixing with, first off, it is completely from anywhere. And that was my biggest thing I wanted to make sure to do. I have done the gym life and it just wasn't for me. My brother's in the bodybuilding space. I get it. Like, I get it that it's like such a craft and it's amazing. For me and my lifestyle, I wanted to be lean, be toned, be healthy, feel good, but it not take an hour. And so that's where I created these 30-minute HIIT and strength workouts. A lot of them are like no repeats. So you don't feel like, oh my God, I'm so over this workout. It's trying to get everyone motivated and excited about moving their body. Because once you start to like be consistent, you kind of are like, okay, this is seamless and I'm enjoying this and I feel much better. I feel energized. When you leave a workout, you should feel energized, not depleted. And I think that's something to check in when you do leave your workout. Like, how are you feeling? So with Form, it's like 30-minute workouts. We do have 45s for anyone who loves to have a little bit more. And then we also flow with like slower sculpt workouts for anyone that doesn't like to be the high intensity. I also put a huge accent on the minimal amount of rest we have. And why I do that is because when I used to go to the gym or work out, after I did like some reps, I'd be on my phone. Then I maybe like check Instagram. And then I took so much rest in between. So instead, why they can be so short is because there's that minimal amount of rest. So your heart rate's getting up, you're getting that cardio, but you're not having to like run 10 miles. And then also you're not wasting your time by checking your phone.
I know. I love all of that. And you know, Katie's busy, right?
Katie's busy. She's busy. Like,
that's what I love. It's like quick and efficient. One of the things that I want to highlight here is the strength training. Like, this is why I'm obsessed with what your workout method is, because you emphasize strength, and that's what completely changes your metabolism. That's what allows you to, we'll get into the balance, like eating the pizza and also looking your best and feeling your best. And I think that with strength training, I know also, we didn't go into this, but I know a lot of people who know you came from a family that was very much in the fitness industry, the wellness. And that's such a blessed place. Like, that's so beautiful. And some people listening, maybe growing up, they didn't come from the same background. So they maybe are introduced to Sami Clarke's Form workouts and strength training at 25 or 30. And I would love to get your tips for just like someone listening on tips for building that strong foundation base. Because it's so important, and I love that you focus on that.
When you say strong foundation base, you mean?
Just like starting to build like like enter into strength training, like lifting weights, maybe even the value behind it?
Yep. So I would say a lot of people can be really scared of weights, which I understand.
A lot of girls will only go on the elliptical or the tread or not bashing any other workout.
Yeah. Again, it is finding what works for you.
Yeah.
It really oh my gosh, I'm not offended when someone's like, HIIT and strength is not for me. I love Pilates, like the reformer beds. I'm like, I actually love that workout too. It is killer, amazing. So it's really finding what makes you want to wake up and go back to it every day and what makes you feel good and also what works for your body. I think genetically we are all just born with different things. Yeah. So you kind of have to be aware.
Self-awareness, guys. It just comes full circle here.
You know, self-awareness. But so like checking with those genetics, but I think what like strength training I love about it is how strong inside and out you do feel. And this is something, if you were just entering, I always love to start small. So it's like from 2 to 5 pounds to 10 pounds. By no means are you starting with a 20-pound dumbbell, you know? And that is something I also do on Form 2 is we're doing more reps so you can do less weight, but you're gonna feel strong. Also, your endurance is gonna be built because of that minimal amount of rest. But strength training is like, it does. People love to ask me like, does it make me like bulky or does it make, and I'm like, it is going to burn more calories than you can imagine by lifting those weights.
Like when we're sitting here, your body, your metabolism is burning way more at rest than someone who doesn't have the same amount of muscle. That's why I love that you have strength, like your workout's a strength-based workout. Cause also, it doesn't get boring cause you increase the weight, like you go up in weights and that changes the workout. I want to touch on nutrition because the other thing that's so powerful is how much you emphasize having such a positive and healthy relationship with food. And I know I've talked to many different girls on this topic, and including myself. I used to like do bodybuilding, and I'm not saying that's like what that served definitely, but it also shifted my relationship with food. And knowing you, following everything you post online, you have such a beautiful relationship with food. And I think that everyone has their own experience, right? Like a lot of people may be restrictive or feel guilty from eating something that's calorically dense, but you have a very beautiful relationship. And I would love to just ask you the question, I know it's kind of loaded, but like how you nurture a positive relationship with food, and just any tips you would give there.
So the first one that actually comes to mind from a personal experience is knowledge with nutrition, because I think there is so much different information about food. But if you get down to, if it's even, again, we have so many resources now that I've even learned so much from, but if it's, listening to a dietitian or, listening to podcasts, watching YouTubes, and kind of just understanding how food works and not having this fear of it, because I understand where a lot of my clients in the past used to have this fear of it. And I actually have had a restrictive relationship with food where I had a trainer that told me no sauces, no this. And I was like so clean, and which I can do clean more because I grew up in a family where my dad barely put salt and pepper on his chicken. So I definitely was used to it. But for someone with a palate that is maybe from an Italian family, they were like, excuse me, no sauces?
No cheese?
No cheese? Are you kidding? So I think that's where the balance comes in, because if you restrict someone that quick, they're going to get burnt out and they're just going to go right back to it. So it's like understanding what works for you realistically, starting with super small goals, and also building that knowledge of carbs aren't bad and protein is good and yummy fats, and understanding that food is medicine.
I love the fact that you talked education and that's like your answer, because starting there, then it's the science that backs it up. I feel like with social, there's the keto diet, there's paleo, and then you end up having like that one narrative. And I think what works for one person may work for someone, may not work for someone else. But I just think it's so much of like educating yourself and trying out what works for you. And on that note of just the balance, the way of living, I think that with life, right? You go to Europe, and if you are on keto, good luck, honey.
Oh, I'm like trying to go to Europe so I can eat all of that food.
So I love how you have a like really balanced approach with like, the weekend comes, and if you're going out for drinks or going out to dinner, you will have an espresso martini or a spicy marg. So like, do you have any like maybe just like general rule of thumb or like statement you say around like the balance of how you live your life?
Yeah, I would say the 80-20 rule comes in handy for sure. I think throughout my week, I plan my meals. And for someone that might not be right for them, again, you really got to figure out what works for you. But for me, it allows me to see what social events I'm having because, you know, we have dinners or we have birthday parties. And the last thing we want to do is go to that birthday party and just stare at that pizza and ruin the vibe because all you're thinking about is how you can't eat that pizza instead of being present and enjoying the birthday party. Yeah. So I love to write my whole week out of like, okay, what meals do I need to meal prep? How can I, because I know that food is good for me and is medicine and gives me energy in my day and makes me feel alive. Like, how can I set myself up on a successful day every day and then seeing what nights I have my social nights so that I can also feel free and flow and understand, okay, on Tuesday, we're about to have a good time and we're going to have those margaritas, we're going to have those pizzas and enjoy myself. And then guess what? On Wednesday, I'm right back to having my overnight oats in the morning. And, you know, it's kind of like seeing that it doesn't have to be this such a scary big thing. And instead set yourself up for success and understand the social events. You're supposed to enjoy those things.
It really comes full circle, like listening to you, because it's such an energy around it too, that you bring to that relationship. And I know, like, depending on where everyone is at with their relationship with food, some people listening might have a beautiful relationship, but then others like myself, even like who've come from such a restricted background, it's so much of nurturing like fuel instead of viewing it as like a macronutrient and like you can only have this amount. And I think it's so, I could go into like a whole episode on just like that relationship because you did talk about the energy behind it. And I love that, like the way you ingest it. I really believe like if you're ingesting food and you're like, this is going to make me have the best time and nourish my body, it also digests differently. I've noticed that when I'm not stressed, like, do you ever think about, like in LA, it's easier to eat gluten-free and it's just like how I eat here. But when you're in Europe and you can't get a gluten-free, like say you couldn't get a gluten-free pizza, you ever notice when you're so in the moment living, you don't even get bloated? It's crazy.
No, but like bring your digestive enzymes if so, like you're fine. But like truly, you start to just enjoy
life and
the moment.
Said it, like you're present. So I think that is such a gem of like planning, educating. I love all of that. I could talk to you forever on that, but we have to go into my last thing I really want to talk about, and that is your relationship. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's so beautiful because I know when I met you guys on that episode, if you guys want to listen to how they met, there's like a good story in that episode. But I know people who follow you or newly like follow you, that they see this beautiful relationship. Both of you guys in a great way are like, you guys have such thriving personal brands. So you share, and I think a lot of people listening who are like want that same kind of relationship. They see it. You probably get it all the time because of YouTube. You guys post videos together too. Oh, relationship goals. And you know, it's everyone's birthright to find their soulmate and their life partner. But I truly believe that you attract what you are. And you and JT are like such a perfect divine fit. So I want to ask you like tips on the self side of, you know, working on yourself. Well, I know now you've been in a relationship for how many years have you guys been together?
5 years now.
5 years. So how you continue to create that beautiful relationship? Because I think someone who's single, who's looking to call in that perfect partner, this is going to serve. Then also someone who's in a relationship, it'll serve because when you're in a relationship, to keep that spark and that love for 5 years, you clearly both like work on yourself in such a beautiful way to make this relationship have the magic.
I mean, I think you just dropped so much in there already. Like, I think the biggest thing is working on ourselves first to show up for each other. JT beautifully does that so much. It's insane. He like will go take a therapy session based on something I'm going through because he wants to help support me.
And take notes.
I swear, I'm like, shoot, that was good. But I think always continuing to work on yourself to show up for the partner is hands down the biggest thing that I think is why we are in such a healthy relationship. I also think staying so interested while the person evolves, because we are not the same as we were 5 years ago. I mean, JT was a hockey player, I was a model, and it can be really scary evolving in a relationship. Sometimes people are like, can I evolve alone? And then once I've reached that point, let's be together.
Yeah. Or like, I'll track then that version.
Exactly, that version. And for someone to see you in the rawest version of yourself is so powerful. So I think I always stay interested in what JT's interested in, you know, and that shows my love and appreciation, and also that I'm still paying attention to him and what he's interested in and all about. But I feel like that's super huge for us.
That's a big one. And you truly do, because you went to like the NFT.
I went to the NFT conference. I own an NFT, but I don't know why. Like literally, I am trying so hard to just, I mean, I love it. I have so much fun with just making fun of him of what he's into.
Yeah.
But it is, I get so curious, and I think that brings us together for sure.
Do you guys do date nights? You know, when you're in a relationship for so long, or maybe someone's married and they're listening. I listen to so many relationship podcasts, even though I'm single. I listen to so many. And Jay Shetty talks about this. Like, it's so important to just go on fun dates. Like, even when you're married, like, and you have kids, you better be having date night.
Yeah. I think I was just talking to a couple girls who were all engaged at dinner the other night, and we were saying, you got to set the expectations in the beginning of what you want. Like, I think sometimes in the beginning we're like, I'm going to be the cool girl. I'm not going to ask for anything. Like, oh yeah, go out with the boys 5 times a week. I'm good. Yeah. And it's like, no, lay down the law in the beginning that like, I love quality time. That's my love language. So could we actually once a week do a date night? I also think that's a huge tip. Know your partner's love language and know your own.
Self-awareness.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I learned midway through JT and I's relationship that my biggest way I received love was acts of service. But the whole time I was thinking it was personal touch. Wow. So JT is his number one personal touch, and I loved it, but I realized I was craving him to grab the groceries out of the car, and he would not know that unless I communicated it. So it was like such a huge realization for me. But as far as date night, quality time's like 4th on our list, both of us, oddly. Ours are more like words of affirmation and personal touch, other things like that. But we definitely spend a lot of time together because we work in the same space. Our teams intertwine. Yeah. Even though we don't have the same business, we really like touch on each other's. But I would say at night, something we do is we set down our phone, and when we're laying in bed, we ask each other, how was your day? We have intentional time. Even if it's like, okay, we turn on a show, but afterwards we do not go to bed without being like, what is your goal for tomorrow? What are you excited about tomorrow? And just making sure you're keeping up with that person's life, because the days can go. But I wouldn't say we're like crazy date night like once a week. JT and I love the couch, so.
No, but that's a date night in itself. That's so the vibe. Especially when you're so busy with so many things going on.
Yeah.
That's honestly what you crave the most, and then doing it with the person you love. Mm-hmm. Guys, Sammy's not just a business owner, workout guru, relationship coach too now.
I'm here.
This was so good. Sami, it's been such a pleasure.
Oh, the best. Thank you so much.
We got to tap into so many things, and we're going to end on like one note, but thank you so much. I just want to honor you for your time and just really be so grateful here for you coming here today. And it's a fun one. It's not like a challenging question. It's almost like sharing what's coming. But I would love for you to share maybe what I love talking about this with friends, like what you're excited about personally and professionally. So I love the personal element, but also forum wise, like what is lighting you up right now? And I know you know because she's the journaling queen.
I would say personally, for sure, planning a wedding, which I am slowly doing, but I am really excited to marry JT and like do the whole thing and have our friends and family together. And also we kind of have a lot of travel in the books right now. I'm really excited about that. I love traveling with JT because that also is a special quality time that we get to do together. It's like different from being in our routine here. So personally, that's definitely what I'm excited about. And for business wise, what I'm excited about, I feel like it's so hard to say business stuff because you have to be so vague of certain things.
You can't say, you probably can't say like the thing you're really excited about.
Yeah, like there's things I'm really excited about, which I can't tell you, but I'm excited for the evolving growth that Form is doing. Like I said, we just launched the journals, but we are on this trajectory to continue launching things that have helped me actually have a wellness lifestyle and create the space that I want. So I would say I'm very excited about that and very excited about in the business world who I have surrounding me. I feel very, very grateful for my team, for my mentors, for the energy living in LA. I feel very, very excited about continuing that.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And because you can't share everything.
Yeah.
People are going to have to follow along. So for anyone who does not know where's the best to follow you, can you plug it all?
Yes. So for personal brands, it's Sami Clarke on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And then for Form, you can follow Join Form on Instagram. And then you can check us out on any app store or browser at joinform.co.
Beautiful. And we'll have it all linked below, guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you in